The South African Human Rights Commission says it's received 2 complaints regarding the Stellenbosch University racist incident. A white student caught on camera urinating on a black student's laptop and books. The perpetrator has since been suspended, while the university says it condemns the incident. It's also investigating further. Now, University South Africa says the incident reflects that young people are trapped by the evils of apartheid. In fact, the group's Head of Operations, Dr. Meyer, is one of our guests for this discussion. The Human Rights Commission's Gaum also joins us to discuss it further. To both of our guests, thanks very much indeed for coming on. Andre, I want to begin with you as the representative from the Human Rights Commission, and it's difficult to phrase the first question, isn't it? Just the level of shock, I suppose, that the Human Rights Commission has noted since hearing about this incident.
Yes, no, absolutely. The Commission has decided to investigate the matter, as on the face of it, or prima facie, it appears that the violation of various of the affected students' rights have taken place. We have, as you pointed out, yesterday received 2 complaints at our Western Cape Provincial Office. If these allegations are indeed true, this was indeed an atrocious and despicable incident. The facts need to be determined by the Commission first, though, and we would call on everyone also to wait for the Commission to conclude its investigation so that we can establish what exactly the facts are. We are attempting to get hold of the affected student and would like to call on the student as well as other potential witnesses to come forward and contact the Commission.
What form will the Human Rights Commission's investigations take?
Yes, well, we have already assessed the complaint and decided to investigate. So now we will obviously look at the video, the source of the video, but also would very much like to hear from the affected student what exactly happened. We will also have to hear what the alleged perpetrator, still at this point in time, obviously, has to say about everything. And would like to look at the conditions. I mean, what exactly were the conditions? Why did this person landed up in the affected student's room? Was he intoxicated? What exactly was the situation?
Alleged perpetrator, but he's on camera. He's on camera urinating on the laptop and books of a fellow black learner. Meyer, I want to bring you in as University South Africa this morning, and I want to read for you a tweet by our colleague in the industry, Bongani Bingwa, who says, this is a quote: "The racist who urinated on a fellow student's belongings at Stellenbosch University is, in fact, a born free. He's lived his whole life under a democratic government. He believed he'd get away with it, and so far he has." There's a lot of discussion now around the circumstances at Stellenbosch University that allows for incidents like this to take place, certainly from the point of other black students at that institution. What's your take?
Well, I think the important thing is that we recognize that as a society, we still have these systemic and entrenched racial inequality actions that are taken by individuals that then bring disrepute onto institutions. As an institution, Stellenbosch is obviously doing the best they possibly can to ensure that these actions are not condoned, and certainly as an institution that they recognize that actions such as these are reprehensible and sets back the transformation agenda significantly. Because students that act in this way show systemically that there are still individuals that do not accept the transformational requirements within higher education institutions. This is reprehensible, immoral, and illegal, and there is no place in any public university in South Africa for individuals like this to participate in our academic program, because it brings complete disrepute to the entire system and across the academy. This certainly is something that is an emotive issue for us at the moment, because we are working so hard to ensure that our universities are places of safety, of transformation, where people know that they cannot behave in this way. And it is, there's no other description of it, that it is a tragedy and it really is just reprehensible.
Linda, I want to ask you this because you've touched on something that the EFF has also called for, that the student involved not only be expelled from Stellenbosch University, but not be allowed to study further at any of our institutions of higher learning. Is that something that University of South Africa would agree with?
Certainly the students, the action, and obviously the colleague from the Human Rights Commission has made the statement that the investigation still needs to be completed. But on the face of it, this is a criminal action and also has civil liabilities to it. And certainly as University of South Africa, we will endorse that students behave in this manner and are found guilty, do not participate in any private institution or any public institution in South Africa. Because what often happens is that people behave in a particular way, in a reprehensible way, and then they just make use of private providers to further their studies. And we certainly are saying there's no space for anyone in our higher education framing.
Certainly. Stellenbosch University itself has also said that it's not ruling out, the student has been suspended, it's not ruling out expulsion, which several people and institutions have been calling for, but criminal charges as well. Andrew, I'll come to you in just a second, but Linda, I want to just stay with you for a moment because you know, you talk as well about incidents like this bringing institutions like Stellenbosch University into disrepute. I want to know whether University South Africa is concerned by the number of racially charged incidents that regularly take place at Stellenbosch University, and whether the university itself is dealing with these incidents as they come up in a manner that tells learners that there is a policy of, you know, this is completely unacceptable. Is Stellenbosch University doing that?
Stellenbosch University has got a program of action in place, and I can assure you that the Council of Stellenbosch University and the leadership of Stellenbosch University have said unequivocally, and their actions have demonstrated to us, that they will not tolerate this, that there is no space for this in any higher education institution. It is true that every university is a microcosm of the community that surrounds it, and certainly those entrenched discriminatory practices certainly are within those communities. So it is not unexpected that it will be reflected within the university community. But as an institution, certainly they are, in our opinion, taking the correct steps. But one incident in any institution is too much.
I wonder whether the black students at Stellenbosch University would agree with you, Linda, that that program of action is being implemented to the nth degree by Stellenbosch University. Andre, let's bring you back into the discussion here. Linda talks about, you know, all institutions being a microcosm of a community. And that's an important point because, you know, in as much as we're sort of focusing on Stellenbosch University and its own program of action, how much can a university do to reverse the upbringing that people are receiving at home?
Yes, well, I think they can do a lot to do that. You see, unfortunately, we're also seeing some of these incidents taking place in schools and so on, also at universities. And therefore, the Human Rights Commission is very much in favor of, especially in respect of schools, we're working with DBE at the moment, to develop a diversity and sensitivity program that should be rolled out in all schools. In respect of universities, we have been in contact with various of the vice-chancellors, but also with University South Africa, to say that we need, at the very least, online human rights module for all students. And maybe this is, once again, a wake-up call, that, how important that is, that all students should have access to at least an online and compulsory human rights module, so that that can also assist in transforming universities, in transforming students' lives, and in giving them a human rights focus.
I mean, swift action is what's needed here, isn't it, Andre? In terms of the Human Rights Commission's own investigations, you've said at the beginning of our interview that you're calling for the students involved to be a part of the Human Rights Commission's own investigations, but also other students to come forward. How do they do that?
They can contact the Human Rights Commission, its office in the Western Cape, they can even contact me. I'll give them my number right now, 0822 11 5572, an easy number to remember. Yes, I think this can indeed be quite a swift investigation. It's not a very complicated matter. There is the video, there is the author of the video, which are believed to be the affected student. There's the affected student, the alleged perpetrator, and any other potential witnesses. So I don't think it needs to be a long and protracted investigation at all. And yes, indeed, if you know, we come to specific findings and directives and so on, then you know, there can be important relief for the affected student.
Can we get a timeline from you, Andre? When can we get an outcome from the Human Rights Commission?
Yeah, that's a bit difficult for me to do that. It depends on many factors, but I can indicate that it will be as swift as possible.
Well, if you are a student at Stellenbosch University, that certainly is the call from the South African Human Rights Commission this morning, to get in touch with their Western Cape office, and I'm sure you can Google the details for that. But Andre Gaum, who is the commissioner responsible for education, has given us his personal cell phone number for you to get in touch with him if you are one of those concerned students, and it is 0822 115572. I'll also tweet that number so that you can have it on hand. Let me thank both of our guests for your time this morning. As I said, Andre Gaum is with the South African Human Rights Commission, and Dr. Linda Meyer is with University South Africa, the head of operations there.